Ganesh, thank you. Clearly, a lot of thought, a lot of effort, a lot of years of thought has gone into this, looking at it from all these different perspectives. And I'm sitting here as a citizen, I'm not an architect, I'm not an urban designer, I'm your most important client. Ultimately this city, this work that you're doing is for people like me, all the people here who would love to enjoy this river, right, that you're talking about. So as a lay person, as somebody who's just wanting to have a better quality of life, how are you so sure? You've presented this really beautiful, perfect vision. So how are you so sure that, are you really confident that all these things can actually manifest? And do you have some case studies or some examples where this has actually been possible, and that you've maybe not personally through HCP, but even somewhere else in the world, where where doing this has allowed for the beautiful vision that you've shared with us?
Like for us, for Indians, it's very new concept. It might be a new concept, but I'm sure there are many people here. Every one of us has seen the rivers abroad, in US, in Europe, and they have done all these activities to protect the rivers, to protect the city. And the requirement is also something similar. They also face all these kind of problems of pollution and flood threat, etc. And that's why these kind of solutions, the engineered solutions brought in picture. After the execution of these kind of projects, only the cities are expanding in further. Definitely, if we do the edge protection work of the river in some suburban or the very agricultural area, it's not a river, let's say 100 kilometers away from the Pune city, the solution will be different. Even the act says something different. Just to inform that, the act says for the urban context, you need to protect with respect to the red line, that is 100-year flood. But for the rural areas or the non-developed areas, you can protect with respect to much lower floods, which is frequent flood, 25 years. So those kind of assessment has already done. It's not something that we are doing first time. All over the world, these things are happening since last many years, many centuries, not even the decades. And you take up the names Singapore, Paris, London, any American city also, they have done all these kind of studies. It's tried and tested examples are there. So we can learn these things and try to implement which is best for our city, our context. Yeah.
So just this is a very basic question. When you say flood, at this point, my understanding of the rise of water in the river is because we are letting go of water from the dams. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So if that is not that is an engineered system, right? We know when we are letting out water. So what is the current threat of flooding to our river? That why would this 100-year flood come? Is it excessive rain? Is it poor management of what? Where does this issue come up from?
There are two things. Means whenever you talk about the flood in a river, especially, you have two type of water flowing into the river. One is which is released from the dam, which is upstream. In case of Khadakwasla, which is very adjacent, like a 5 kilometer. But in case of Mula River, the Mulshi Dam is very much upstream. So when the release is there from the dam, definitely that entire water will come. But secondly, may not be that high in some cases, but if the catchment is larger, then the local catchment is also very important. So having the local catchment, the streams, whatever the sloping areas, entering into the river, in downstream of the dam, till your project area starts. So that local catchment also contributes into the water into the river. So that is, there are two categories. Nowadays what is happening, because the cities are growing, what is the difference between the urban area and non-urban area with respect to the flood or the surface water? As soon as even this building has some footprint. This building has some areas, paved areas to access for parking, etc. And because of that, the percolation into the earth reduces. And that not only happening in one plot, in every plot, number of plots, and cumulatively that sprawl is increasing. If you remember that diagram, that black says Here the percolation is less, and that's why the surface runoff will be more towards the river. And that's why day by day, the surface runoff is increasing into the river from the urban areas, not from the rural areas. But yeah, this local catchment area also need to be considered when you do the riverfront kind of project. Or don't even think about the riverfront, but to understand the water from where the water is coming into the river, from these two sources. One is from the direct release from the dam, and one is from the local catchment surrounding areas.
So we had this kind of a conversation yesterday where Vishwanath was talking about reducing, making as land as porous as possible, recharge pits, and they're talking about building 1 million wells in Bangalore. So what, in your plan, what are the things that the rest of the city needs to do to ensure that the river functions the way you want it to function? Are there any pointers that the non-river part needs to do?
See, currently I'm talking with respect to the riverfront project, and my project and my scope ends at the river boundary only. Okay. So first of all, I'm trying to convey you that the project is about riverfront, not about the city. I'm not doing the development plan of the Pune city. However, so it's not in the scope of the riverfront project. If I give any statement, you will start saying that, but this thing you are not proposing in your riverfront project, because that's not in my limit. I'm not supposed to tell to the authority, do this in the Pune city, because that is beyond the jurisdiction. But yes, having more percolation into the city area, and with the help of permeable pavers or other green edge protection work or whatever, you can increase the percolation, store the water. That can be the approach. But currently, that's beyond my scope of work. So you understand, as an architect, if your project boundary or if your plot boundary ends here, you cannot give guideline to the neighbor like you don't have a glasses or you don't do anything.
No, I guess I didn't mean it in a very strict sense that, you know, your mandate stretches beyond the river. I understand that, but more from a sense of these discussions. Did you have these discussions with your teams, with the PMC, with the people, the bureaucrats in charge? Because it has to be looked at holistically. That's more where
broadly,
I'm
as a architect, urban planner, what I can see, there are key issues what we can think into, like the natural nalas which are bringing water into the river. Those need to be sensitively addressed. So there should not be encroachment. There should not be dumping into the river, into those nalas, so that the local catchment in that area should be taken smoothly to the at least up to the river. If the nala itself is choked and the riverfront is efficient and having high carrying capacity of the river, but nala is choked and you are having water logging into the city, so is it fault of riverfront or nala? So it is because of the nala is encroached. Okay. So we need to understand from where this water can enter into the river. So those ways we should not sort of encroach, so that water at least reaches to the river, and beyond that river will, or riverfront project will also do its own role. But city should try to control its growth and do not enter into the natural nalas.
So maybe, and this is still in its, you know, it's still not implemented. It's in this process of being implemented. Maybe one way of looking at it is to look at this not as a riverfront project, but as a water management project, or as a city-wide water security, water management project. And the project could, your project could mandate that while this riverfront project is being implemented, also looks at all these other issues that are connected with water, our natural, you know, streams, canals, etc. Otherwise, we're again looking at something in a very myopic, very, very specific way, and it may not address, or it would not address, the larger issue that we're getting. And that's just a point.
Yeah, absolutely. We cannot, and we are not trying to see the river as one single element, but having all these connections with respect to the piped outfall, connection with respect to the open channels. So those channels should have clear openings, so that flood water during the rainy season, whatever the local catchment will have, should be entered into the river. Even the outfalls should be entered into the the interceptor line. So the openings are very crucial, and we are trying to see those areas very sensitively so that there should not be a flooding in upstream area of the city. If the point is blocked, then there will be flooding in the upstream area of the city. So having that smooth connection over there is a very critical aspect. And that is also part of the riverfront project.
You know, you mentioned...
Similarly,
Yeah.
I'll just add into it. There are two ways, like just going beyond that point. We need to ensure that the local rain from the area should be able to enter into the river. Parallelly, what the water we are retaining into the river should not also enter into the city. So that both ways feedback we need to take, and we need to create a mechanism so that this water should not enter into the city, and the city water should smoothly enter into the river if it is storm water. If it is sewage, then it should be taken to the STP. So all these technologies, which I'm saying fundamentally, they are available. And all over the world, they have implemented their successful stories also. As a physical infrastructure expert, one can understand that. So all that is possible, but it is just about the sensitivity of the designer. Like, this is the location, this is the requirement, and this kind of solution I need to put it here.
You know, you mentioned early on in your presentation of the importance of the new sewage treatment plants. That there are, 25 of them existing, and you're going to have to almost double the capacity of, put a huge number of new ones. So where are these going to be put? Are they going to be put in the river,
No.
on the river, side of the
Along
river?
the river. It will be always along the river. Nothing will be inside the river.
And has land been identified?
Yeah. So
this is
the tender
this is public land?
is done. Tendering is done. The lands are identified. And I think contractors are also on board. So they're working on it. I know this project is very much little delayed, because when we started Riverfront project, at that time also this JICA project was in the process. And last 3 years, the project which was supposed to be executed because of some administrative issues maybe, the process is not completed. But now everything is moving very fast. The contractors are on board. So we need to be a little hopeful. And sooner the projects, all these 11 STPs, I think 10 STPs proposed will be implemented.
You know, your one place that I felt that I was looking for you to have addressed it, but I didn't find it, was are we displacing any people from the riverfront? So from my understanding, I see a lot of encroachment on the riverfront. You mentioned the Tadiwala slum. You mentioned, there is the slum right at Sangam, just before Sangam. Near, what's it called, Juna Bazaar. Okay, so on the east side of the river. So what are your thoughts of that? I know these places get flooded in the high flood times of of the year. So what is your thought process on that?
See, all these places which you already mentioned, none of these slums or developments are within the riverbed. They are low-lying areas along the river. So they are away from the bed. So what we are trying to create, in front of that slum, the age protection work will happen. If it is low-lying area, that may remain low-lying area. If it is high, it can be high area. But in front of it, the age protection work will happen. And in order to have that age protection work, we are not trying to demolish the slums and create a green embankment, because that will be very much difficult to implement. And that's why this third category of vertical edge is also required in some cases, to protect these areas parallelly, not to displace them. So in this riverfront project, no habitable colonies or anything affected.
So just to get it right, you're saying that there is not a single displacement or not a single informal settlement that is on this project for 44 kilometers
Not
long?
habitable. There might be wall, there might be some steps, there might be some Visarjan Kund or something like that, but nothing where people are living. So no habitable space.
Okay. I'm going to just ask this last question and then we'll open out. I'm sure a lot of people are looking to ask questions. So what are the obstacles to this plan? What are the obstacles that you see that are happening, that you are facing as a professional trying to implement something? Where is this plan stuck? I've been hearing about this riverfront for the last 20 years. I guess when did you all get this contract to
We started working in 2016.
So it's 6 years now. 6 years. Obviously, a lot of time must have taken in making the plan, presenting it. When did you get official approval on the plan?
So if I convey you with respect to the timeline as a hurdle point of view, we started working in 2016. By the time of 2017, I think we completed all the technical studies and all. And in next one and a half year, by end of the 2018, I think, we prepared the master plan. We got the approval of the master plan from the standing committee and general body, etc. After having that approved, draft master plan approved, we went to the environment committee for the approval, and it took 1.5 kind of year. So in 2019 kind of thing, we got the EC. Parallelly, we were also working on the hydraulics part of it. So those approvals also key things.
So the environmental approvals you got from NGT, or where did you get that from?
Environment Ministry.
That's a central ministry?
SIA.
It's a state ministry?
State.
Okay.
For the riverfront project, we got it from the state ministry.
Okay. So you got all approvals, say 2019, 2018? What?
So environmental clearance in 2019, and this irrigation approval in 2021. So things take time. Even the land record approval also we got quite late in 2019 or something. So those steps are very crucial. So it's not only prepare the plan and submit it and we are done with it. In order to implement it, we need a lot of approvals, the way we do for the building approval process. So this project is a bit complicated and a lot of angles are there, a lot of ministers or ministry or the departments are involved. So all those approvals need time. After having that, we have also got the approval on the SPV formation for the project from the state government. So that also took a couple of months. Then the municipal authority who is going to implement that. So availability of fund is another angle. So once the availability fund is there, the local level approvals are there, and then you start working on it. In between, again, that COVID period, everybody knows. So that 2.5 year of COVID period was also there where not much activity can be done at a gathering part and everything. So cumulatively, these are some of the, you may not say as a hurdle, but these are the steps, necessary steps to be cleared before you start execution.
So you're saying that this is the natural process and you are on course to start the implementation. Is that, you feel confident of that?
For any riverfront project, you need to finish that master plan first. You need to do the approvals, whatever statutory approvals with respect to the land record, with respect to environment, with respect to the state level approvals for the land, etc. Hydrology, hydraulics. Unless you do that, how can you start execution? So once you do that, then you go ahead for the next step, which is detailed design and implementation.
Okay, great. All right, let's open it out. Rahul.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Ganesh. My name is Rahul. I'm a practicing architect. Very comprehensive presentation you gave. I have two questions. The first one being that for a project of this scale and looking at the number of agencies to which you have to present and get approvals and the bureaucracy involved, I didn't see it, but I'm sure you've done. Was there any precedent studies done for a scale of, for this kind of scale or this type of city similar in the world? That is one question. And second question is, I think your budget said about 4,800 crores almost. So how is this funding being planned? And how does the funding come to the right people? What is the mechanism? Because in my view, if that doesn't happen in time, the project can be adversely affected. So I just wanted your views on that.
Yeah. So as a case of implementation point of view, all over across the world, this kind of projects are implemented, especially for the urban context. Entire Netherlands is a low-lying area and they have huge kilometers and kilometers of dikes there. So the flood protection is not something which is, we are talking, which is very new to the world. It is implemented. There are a number of case studies as a design point of view. But as an implementation, because country to country, the scenarios change, the regulations are different, the system is different. If we take the Indian case, we have another example, which is Sabarmati, which is the first implemented. In case of Sabarmati also, the SPV was formed. Under the SPV, the project is implemented. And similar fashion, the edge protection work was completed first. And then the remaining land behind that is now getting implemented. So that is the kind of example, and we only did the Sabarmati. So from the implementation and administration point of view, a lot of learnings were there. Yeah. And second question was about the funding. So as I mentioned, there is no revenue generation from this project. So because in case of Sabarmati, we had a lot of reclamation of the land, and from there the revenue was generated. Many places like Singapore, and they do that self-financing project. But here, the idea is not to have a project which will have a real estate. And that is also not feasible, because you saw the width, the edge protection. After the edge protection, whatever the land is remaining is just 5 meter, 10 meter, 15 meter. What you will propose there? So better to have a public spaces. And we need to become little more innovative to fund this project. Like wherever the project is coming, the entire city is benefiting. So the entire city can become part of the project, or the authority can fund the project. There are a number of ways which were strategized. So step by step, it can be considered by the authority. There are a number of ways to fund the project. So maybe PPP mode or anything. There are a number of ways actually.
Yeah, I need 3-4 minutes, Khushru. My name is Sarangi Adwadkar, and Ganesh, I have read your DPR completely, all components of the DPR, including the master plan and hydraulic report. I have studied it completely, and after my study, firstly, I need to mention that as this project is a sub judice matter before the court, I cannot ask all the questions, but I'm just going to mention a few things. After reading the hydraulic report, it is as per the report, hydraulic studies in the DPR show rise in flood levels from 0.16 meters, that is 6 inches, to 1.53 meters, that is 5 feet 1 inches, after completion of the project. That is as per the report as given in the DPR. These are not my figures. Secondly, you have not considered backwater effect of confluences. There are two major confluences, Mula and Pauna, as well as Mula and Mutha. As per your own report, can you believe water flows generally?
Sarang.
I'm just mentioning the figures.
Our speaker is here. Please speak to him.
Yeah.
And my request to you,
fine. I'll talk to him.
My request to you,
I'll talk to him.
Sarang, 1 second. My request to you is, please frame a question.
Yeah. I'm framing the question.
Yeah,
I'm framing the
so
question.
Just frame a direct question.
Yeah.
Let's keep it simple.
Let us keep it simple.
I don't want us to have a monologue here or a long back and forth, as I mentioned. Let's just keep it simple, yeah?
Yeah.
With due respect to our guest here today, yeah?
The water at confluences is rising. Okay, the rivers towards the confluences are rising from 0.8 meters to 3.95 meters. That is something, rise towards downstream, I cannot understand it, so kindly explain that. And in addition to all this, the flows from free catchment area, that is, you mentioned about it, from the dam to your point of study, flows from free catchment area of 1296 square kilometers have not been considered in your hydraulic report itself. Because for example, Mutha River, right from the beginning, you have considered 2,835 cumecs, right? And up to confluence, the figure remains same. It doesn't increase anywhere, even by 1 liter, in spite of so many tributaries and so many streams coming to the river. So these are some of my questions. And you forgot to mention about dismantling of 7 bridges in this project, for this project, and dismantling of the riverbed road, which carries a lot of traffic, and no consideration of climate change. These
Sarang,
two
Sarang,
words.
So what's your
No,
question?
fine, my question is over. My questions are
What
over.
is your question?
Oh, I need his response for this.
So I think there are four questions. One is about the rise in the level of the HFL, first question. So it's not the rise in the level of the HFL for the entire river. There is a rise in the level of the HFL at one location or two locations as compared with the 44 kilometer of the river. So here we need to understand what is the narration. Narration is that we need to improve the carrying capacity of the river with respect to 100-year flood. So 100-year flood is a value of flood, how much quantity of flood. And the red line is the effect of it. Okay. If that much of value of flood is taken through the embankment, through the river, at most of the places, the HFL is coming down. But at few places, as compared with the 44 kilometer, maybe like 1 kilometer or 2 kilometer, it is rising as compared with the existing level. So majority cases, point number one, we are improving the carrying capacity of the river. So entire 100-year flood will be able to pass. Majority level it will come down. At few levels only it will be little bit higher. But it is not about level, it's about the quantity of water should be able to pass. One. Second question is about the confluence effect. It's very logical to understand. When you have two, what is confluence? Confluence is a place from where two rivers are meeting. Okay. When there is a flow from the two rivers, it's likely to rise the level, isn't it? One can easily understand from two rivers, two sides, the water is entering, then there might be for some part there will be rise in the level. So it's a phenomena, everyone can understand. There is nothing new in it. That was second. Third, about the bridges. Yes, so there are few bridges which will be impacted by the HFL. They are impacted in the current situation without embankment. After the embankment also, few bridges will be impacted, but the impact is less than the current situation, point number one. Point number two, when I say 7 bridges are impacted, that doesn't mean all 7 bridges need to be demolished. Out of that, only few bridges, like Baba Bide Bridge, which always gets submerged. So that can be uplifted so that the obstruction to the river does not happen. 2 or 3 bridges we need to demolish and uplift. Other out of 7, 4 or 5, I think 5, need not be raised, can be only modified with the help of jacking pushing. If anyone doesn't understand jacking pushing, it's a simple process. Every 10 years, 20 years, the maintenance has to be done for the bridge. And while doing that, you can do the little bit uplifting of the bridge, which is half a meter. So most of the bridges will be above that 100-year level. They are just touching the soffit. So that is the current scenario. In current scenario, the HFL is much more higher than that. So future में after RFD, the effect will be lesser, but still they are impacting. तो ऐसा कोई बहुत बड़ा problem नहीं है. Last question was about the parallel roads which are the river, within the river. Till now there was a issue about having those roads into the river bed, right? Because those roads are within the river is narrow and the carrying capacity of the river is less. So when we are widening that channel and the roads are removed, we are actually improving the river carrying capacity. But because the roads will be removed, the issue might be about the traffic, right? So if the traffic is issue, then on the same line, same length, we will be having a new metro which is already executed. So all the traffic can get transferred into the metro or the upper level promenades from where one can walk or do the cycling. It's just a 3 kilometer of stretch, one can do the cycling. So better to have a metro or do the cycling. So that is the alternative. We need to choose at this place, we need road or improve the river. And definitely I think we selected the improvement of the river. So all those answers. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yes, free catchment area is also considered, and that compliance is also submitted to the departments respectively. And as he said, it's a judicial task, so that is also covered there. Thank you.
Clearly, there is, we are, there's a lot to talk about this, and uh, and we could have a whole, evening talking about the river and talking about the issues with the river. But this is not that day today. Sarang, with due respect, yeah. So what I'd like to take this opportunity, Ganesh, to invite you back again to Pune, yeah. If you're open to it, and not put you on the spot, but to really have, you can see the interest here, yeah, in your work, and to have a free and fair conversation about the issues and challenges that our city and the citizens of our city are concerned about, and give 50% chance to everybody, to people who, and I'll try to curate it in a fair and free manner, and we can actually have a little bit of a back and forth conversation about it in a civilized, decent manner. And with a request, if Sarang is going to be one of the speakers, yeah, with a request that when you phrase your questions, make it in a very simple way, maybe with diagrams, with a way that a simple person can understand what you're referring to. So, Ganesh, the invitation is up to you. Uh, and we will celebrate at the end of the night with friends, as fellow professionals, and as citizens, and we'll plan it. And I hope you'll come and be with us. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm going to take a couple more questions from the audience, because I think a lot of people want to ask questions. I'm going to take 3 questions, and we're going to wrap it in 10 minutes. Are there any questions? Any hands? Okay. There's one at the back, and there's 2 here. I'll start with ma'am here. Please keep it short.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. I'm Shubha Shweti. I'm an architect and planner. There are 2 questions that I have. One is about creating a cultural, so Pune has a cultural identity, and how is this project creating a cultural, kind of newer cultural identity for the city? So have you considered something in that regard? And the other is about how much do people need to be sensitized about this project? And because I think it's not just the river, but the entire city needs to, be sensitized about certain things, as I think about waste, the problem of waste, for example. So is there any plan to also sensitize the general citizens of the city? Yeah.
Yeah, just to come back to the culture of the city and the opinion of the city's people. Like, I'm also Punekar, I'm also local person, born and brought up in Sadashivpet. I know the city and the river also. But going beyond personal understandings, we try to understand with the help of the opinion survey how people see, especially with that 4,700 opinion surveys, how they really see and want to see the river in which scenario. So that was one biggest attempt what we did. Apart from that, identify all the current activities which are along the river. It might be the ghat, it might be the Visarjan Kund, the access points which are there, the temple activities, all the activities, even including the Dhobi Ghat and eateries, whatever we have. So whatever is there, we did the activity mapping of the entire river edge. We walked along the river and tried to understand from the activity point of view, the culture point of view, or the religious aspect, which are the locations, which kind of activities are happening, and how can we better support with the help of facilities which they need, which they don't have currently, but we can provide with the help of project. So that was the approach.
Hi Ganesh, my name is Rohit. We have been seeing this Sabarmati redevelopment promenade for last 6-7 years. I'm sure you must be part of the design team. Holistically, it has got some brownie points at particular specific location, but as a whole, the project has never been able to be 100% successful for various reasons. I'm sure there will be genuine reason. With that as a background, do you see Pune riverfront development having this same effect, that some points which are strategically located, commercially important, may only start and the whole development does not take place?
No, actually, if you see the Sabarmati riverfront, I'll start from that. Sabarmati, the urban context is a 11-12 kilometers. So that was planned in a phase 1 and it was implemented at that time. Now city is growing, so they are also extending that riverfront 6 meter on upstream part also. The riverfront is something that one can extend the way, because as we keep pushing our urban development towards the river, we need to have something barrier there, and the greenage work, the infrastructure integration, activities, everything. So that was the plan of Sabarmati. It's not about the part of it, it's a holistic thing and which is getting extended. Similarly, in case of Pune, the entire 44-kilometer river we have planned, and step by step we have divided into 11 parts. Out of that, 2 parts are starting, some more parts will start. So part by part, it cannot be done in a 1 year or something, it will take its time. But eventually we will have all the edges completed, so that from anywhere the pollution should not happen. Or everywhere, wherever the potential is there, we will have some activities, or we will have some more thick green vegetation. So it will be a holistic thing, and it has to be context specific. We cannot think and say ki every 1 kilometer I need to have something, or every 200 meter I need to have something. At some places it will be 50 meter also, at some places it might be 500 meter also. So it depends on the appetite of the river, the city, or the current character where the activities are placed, and those things we need to address. Like here the requirement is, and that we need to address that way.
This will be our last question.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your presentation and for detailing it so beautifully. I'm sure if the project can get executed the way you've outlined, every one of us would be very happy if the river is clean and flowing properly. My question is just regarding, you firmly mentioned that this is not a real estate development project. But as far as I see it, there are a lot of there's a lot of opacity with regards to what are these recreational activities that are planned. You have mentioned certain of them, but I did not see any detailed description of this plot will contain this activity or this plot will contain so and so. There's just a general list of activities and a general land that you are acquiring for the project. Now, once the project is out of your hands and it goes back to the corporation, do you not think there is a possibility that this land can then be developed by real estate developers, can be let out by the corporation to private entities, can be used to, in fact, undo the very good effects that you guys are trying to do? Because let's face it, this is prime real estate. This is right by the riverfront. It's excellent for private development. Do you not feel that there is a possibility of that?
No, I don't think it will happen, because we are working on we have done the master plan and we are working on the detailed design of it. So we will continue working on it. So if you believe that we will not do something like that, so we are there to
it will be in all of our benefits. That's
ensure
why, yes,
you
of
that
course,
nothing
of
will
course.
happen like that, because everything is like at conceptual level. Your architect, at conceptual level, when you say here this bubble means garden, at concept level you can just put a bubble, but there will be a garden. So when we will do the detailing, we will detail out the garden also, and we will be working on the detailed design. So it is aligned, like everything is aligned, and corporation is also aware that all these things need to be done. So approvals are also taken in that manner only, so it will happen.
All right, let's hope you're right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ganesh, thank you so much for coming. I think there's, like I mentioned, there's a lot to talk about. We could spend a couple of hours talking about this. And I hope you take up our offer of coming back again. The invitation is extended. And we hope to see you here again. We'll plan it with time, when you have time, when we have time here. I'd request sir to please a little bit of thanks for Ganesh coming all the way here. Ganesh, thanks. Thank you so much.
So thank you, everyone. Thanks for the patience. I know I have taken a lot of time, but I actually told him I cannot finish this presentation before 1 hour. You can push me like 45 minutes, but not less than that. But yeah, it went like 1 hour again. Okay, thank you.